Supposing somebody approached you and said they have a way to predict the relationship happiness, and so you would share with them some of the things you and your partner do, and they could tell you, oh my goodness, that is promising, or they'd say it's not promising. Wouldn't that be excellent information? How are you keeping? I hope all right. Listen, if you're here for the very first time or the 90th time, I appreciate you, and this is just to show my gratitude. Whoa, 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 whoa. My name is Eric, and this is Eric Stories. We hang out every weeknight, Monday to Thursday around this time, and we try and make sense of difficult conversations around adult dating, money, sex, relationships, you name it. And I value your mind about all of this stuff. So I feel absolutely welcome to share your mind with me. A friend of mine was telling me not too long ago the way he'd gone to a symposium and he saw such fine women. He was just like, oh my goodness. And he was feeling piteous, according to him, about especially married men, because he's saying, oh my goodness, Eric, there was so many beautiful women, and he was opining that as he's growing older and entering different spaces, he's seeing more and more and more and more potential women, and it's so confusing. So this time he's thinking he's got it with Paula. The next day he goes some places, it's like, Jen is definitely it. Jen is Jen, hey. And so we got into an enthralling conversation about that, and I was telling him while physical attributes are phenomenal, there's so much to be discussed around character traits in both sides, so rather on both sides of the spectrum, be it a woman looking for a man or a man looking for a woman. And it made for thought-provoking conversation. And so in that spirit of that conversation, I thought about ways in which if you would predict happiness farther down the road, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, would there be anything of that sort? And wouldn't that be very helpful? That's what I want us to talk about. So apparently, according to some analysis from over 100 studies, it turns out that there are actually ways that a trait a partner possesses can improve the relationship. So you don't want to maybe just rely on time will tell. Can you imagine? Thank God for the internet age. And so I've read, thankfully, a bunch of materials in my yesteryears, and even some information I'll share with you that I've read from books that lend credence to a would-be successful relationship or a happiness predictor in a relationship. So you don't have to just wait and hope, all right? So first things first. Relationship satisfaction has scored very highly as one of the predictors of a relationship happiness now and farther down the road. And so it was agreed upon that the indicators that would qualify to add on to relationship satisfaction include things like mindfulness. And so what does mindfulness looks like? It's I was just calling to check if you got to the office fine and if the traffic was bothersome. Or maybe going to the kitchen and offering to blend their very nice smoothie, which they prefer before they go to bed without the masking. Something of that sort, I guess. I haven't been on these streets for so long. But mindfulness, literally, if you're mindful, maybe their car, you use their car. The other day I was hanging out with my friend and their significant other said, I used your car the other day and I thought to send you money for fuel. And I thought that was mindful, right? So mindfulness causes relationship satisfaction. Self-awareness counts for something. This is still under relationship satisfaction. If you're more aware of yourself, then you are more aware of the person you would want. And sometimes I feel sort of some type of way when people marry so young. I'm not saying there are formulas to this thing, but I feel like every waking day, I know better and I become better. And it's not true that the older you are, the smarter you become or the wiser you become. Somebody was telling me the other day that they read a quote, which I found so amusing. The quote read, foolish people grow old too. And boy, isn't that true. So, but if you're wiser and you're into improving yourself, the more you learn, the better you ought to become. Unfortunately, not for all of us. I know some pretty dim-witted 50, 40-year-olds and even 30-year-olds. So age has nothing to do with wisdom or lack thereof, okay? So Self-awareness helps, all right? So you know that you have a sane estimate of your capabilities, all right? Perspective taking is another thing, still under relationship satisfaction. Persistent action towards one's goals. So if you're trying to improve yourself in academia or in business, counts for something. So that's the first thing that can predict relationship happiness, and it's under those clauses. We need to have a chat about this on Friday. So come along on Friday live on Instagram from 9 o'clock. I feel like there's so much that is so important I would want to share, and Friday affords us more time to elaborate. Second thing that could predict relationship happiness is sexual satisfaction, and a lot of my reading, they say distraction or inattentiveness obviously are really unlikely things that would foster intimacy. So if you're distracted, you won't foster intimacy and bonding. And so the cure then requires that you talk about things openly. You have to be kosher, authentic. So I don't like the way you nibble me. That's off. After all, that's not nibbling. You feel like you're eating an avocado, and I am not clearly an avocado. And maybe I prefer my back area and neck more than the things you do to my fore. So openness and honesty rather, in terms of sexual satisfaction. What don't you like? You don't like lights, then you have to voice it. You like lights, then you have to voice it. You've had thoughts about the cooker, like right on top of the cooker or the kitchen table, worktop. You've never voiced it. He's never going to figure it out. And if she does voice it, then try it, right? Yeah, such phenomenal stuff. So sexual satisfaction is the second thing that would predict relationship happiness. If they're not happy with you, they're likely going to be very gloomy and might even be happy with somebody else, no? Negative conflict and aggression. This is under conflict management, because conflict is always going to be there. All relationships have rough edges that need to be smoothened out. And so if there's a lot of habits like pushing and shoving and even verbal abuse, that predicts failure further down the road, all right? So healthier management of conflict in the state of slapping and pushing, maybe discussing well, respectfully, that yes, you're maybe super duper angry and you feel like setting the house on fire, and you choose that maybe this is not a good time, and maybe when you come around at a better time, you'll voice your words again with a lot of empathy and compassion and so on and so forth, all right? So physical aggression or aggression of any nature predicts failure. The opposite of it, kindness and just communicating even grievances with a lot of respect, then promises a relationship happiness further down the road. Parenting styles, if you have kids, was another one that had different clauses, and it was really an eye-opener for me. Parental style and child interaction, all right? So adaptive parenting and parents who are sensitive and responsive when dealing with their children fare better amongst the ways they relate to their significant other. And so, and then again, in a different conversation I was having with a friend of mine, you see, there's no black and white in some of these things. So maybe you want a child to go to school X, and she wants the child to go to school Y, and you both have very strong points about why your child should go to these places. If not handled well, it can cause a lot of problems. And then child interaction. Maybe one parent is perpetually present, the other one is perpetually absent, and then, again, causes a lot of problem. I would love to expand on that as we go along. Parenting stress is another thing. Responding more successfully to challenges and difficulties and making them less stressful for both of you counts for something, all right? So just generally, no one has it figured out. No one has it figured out. So a lot of consultation, they said, if you are able to consult with the person you're dating or married to now, more broadly, and they're not so fixed in their ways, maybe about how they were brought up. Maybe they're not saying they used to stand in a corner and it worked for them, so that's the only way, for instance. Maybe they're more welcoming to other ways of parenting. So they say if you are in tandem about some of these things, then there is a high chance that somebody can predict happiness further down the road in your relationship. But if you're completely asunder and one partner is a sluggard, then it becomes very, very difficult to achieve success. Let me know what you think about this stuff. Good evening and good night.